dāgē jinso yebe sunam ji rola penjire sangye ndo barasha sangye chedan soge chanam lo chanchu bardo dani kya dāgē jinso yebe sunam ji rola penjire sangye ndo barasha sangye chedan soge chanam lo chanchu bardo dani japson je dāgē jinso yebe sunam ji rola penjire sangye ndo barasha sangye chedan soge chanam lo chanchu bardo dani japson je dāgē jinso yebe sunam ji rola penjire sangye ndo barasha.
From now on to enlightenment, I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, and by the merit created in this practice, may I attain the state of Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. From now on to enlightenment, I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, and by the merit created in this practice, may I attain the state of Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. From now on to enlightenment, I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, and by the merit created in this practice, I attain the state of Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings.
Kange dujeng zong tawa tanje pambe chene denge kodam de la cha cha lo. 다 군다람 보시 릴룽바 서기 카나야 라운드 수든 들어왔네 종인도 찾은 데만 인지된 치면 남자 이제 송나신 전에다 말한주 남바상게 봐 천디섬지 거기 리둘 많이 봐 치마 펜진이 땐지 센서진인지 실루기제 제나 대나네 저저 녀모라 거기 견도 다네 semgiri shide tukenji insan 즉 오늘 천디기 또그 tamsung 코나 진짜 진짜리 된 자원이니요 말에 치마 벤젤스 원바제제 디저거라 가르치는 천디라 즉 오늘 유 벤젤 첨부지에 난다 담년다 첨부지에 난다 간제 벤젤 가는 단데 치기 진반하신지 리라와 강진 차선 설레제데 요바이나 이 단데 효수다 즉 롱아로 와서 진지 롱아에는 인진이마다 녀예요 말때 반도 산에 마차디 로데 강갈라처요 말 데도 집에 지켜래 쟤니 미좀 잡잖아 쟤디기다 서다 물들은 무시리듯이 한다에 치요 말 와다 이즉 요아 간실라 애니베 치마 펜절에 미지 겨와 덮친 부시 니바들 된 바지 저런 좀좀 참아지 제가 있나 애니 치마 펜지기 전사지대 연구할 때 대충 거를 돈 다니는 것도 되겠지.
The quote by Kondar Rinpoche, even if you manage to fill up the entire, valley with the valley and mountains with the gold, so on and so forth. So what he's saying in this verse is that as a Buddhist follower and practitioners, we don't practice only aiming at the this one lifetime. When we practice, we think about future lifetime, beyond this lifetime, and we look at the negative mentalities or negative emotions as the problem, the source of problem and fallacies, and we don't totally spend our kind of effort and everything just for the sake of this one lifetime. Simply like having a good clothes and shelter and getting fame and name. So if we say manage to have a very wealthy life, luxurious life, life with the lots of treasures like gold and silvers. Um, we can enjoy these luxuries just for a very when we look at with a long objective, we have opportunity very kind of short span of time. Like when we enjoy good meal, good taste, it's just like in a couple of inches on our tongue that we feel like delicious, and then after that it's done. So what Kondana Rinpoche is saying in this, the advice is, as a Buddhist practitioner, we should be aiming aim with a long-term kind of objective, and doing something that's beneficial in the long term, not only very limited to this one lifetime. So creating a positive activities, which is complete positive activities, complete with the preparation and then the actual good act, and then with good conclusion.
rangi maje mazo jungu gomba nai jeba ina chik rangi gucho yetse de nyomu nyembo rotu yagi jungu tengyo ti yugala khachini nyomu la ta meazuni ni chik chik rewe chungi lo de yarge tangko ti mazo chik jungu tenya de tingko kanchi nyomu na kyonduta nyumu 타시냐 탑람 아니 그왜 초디 로데 타메트 펠기요 근데 타메트 펠을 주네 도스지바이나 로종기 민돈수 로종디 대용 거래 간지 니는 찍지 노래요 말 간지 직 야니 초진이 nyumungi nyempote nyempondo waji nyumungi 견주야 야니 그왜 연된주야 그왜 엔페 semla gyua kanis tang kuwa ten shi gyor ma ta ten la gyuni yo ma wa ta te ma yin ba che chik ngarang zo chue de shi chu kyang pa re yo ma ten zawa yin re yo ma ru chi shi tu zung dun del ni nyam nin che wa shi tu zung dun del ni chik ha ge lo jom dar che ke chi shi gyor shi tu zung dun del de ka che tö바 tökya ma cha samba samgya ma cha 우곰바 검क्या 맞아 퇴송거수 즉 오니 뎁지도 지야지 어디 두치는 그 시고 대지바이나 가래 연구하래 즉 로라 야르겐도야 그왜 총권 권도 페라 어디 던지지 연구하래 대인디가라 오니 중구추 중 코나 된다 쉬우지래대 마라서 다이 즉 파기 라렌 키라 토니 투쇼레 인도에 냥가 첨부가래 어디 깊지 나가니다 겸그럼지 텐데 숭도와 어디 텐데 마란토이나 다치 라마 코메 맹아 윈 레제자 마임바 수수는 땅도 렌지 가서 뚝뚝 녀몽기 가서 동al 띠기와 가서 녀주고 가래 즉 젬바 디오마 녀주고 다티 녀 코는 두고도 즉 삼로지다나 콘트롤 개용들가라 셈기 동알디 즉 맨제니니 소투부와 말에 자라통도 소투부와 말에 칼라심보지제니 즉 셈기 동알디 땐 자완이니 셀투부와 말에 된디 인들가라 말한 셈기 동알 쓰기는 맨 초대 당 오니 중산 되게 되냐면지 아니 코란 로 툴와 로 친지로 되라 로양 따빠 로에네 거외초게 로지 님부 되니 야니 뭐이기 님부 야니 타시 님부야 야니 도수지 된디지 된지 빼나 가서와 야 말gal 소리지나 아니 저 아니 배 잠체 잠바트 쓰고 말gal지 님부도 와 어디 그 배티주 양 뽕년인데 외진님보다 말해 타스민님으로 내가 고정이라 팽겨라 그것도 전에 된지 간리도 답시 간리시 연구도 요는 간리시에도 그것도 때는 진짜네 아니 냠는 제바나 이 원에 제바데 챙긴 제바데 챙긴 제바 민둔 수바지요 하야 이 차거 인디가라 즉 넘버 3개 비치디 시루 좀도 되는 제거야 퇴섬 검수 뎁지도 제거야 와다 독스제 인디가라 중국 땐타네 차거 때가 아주 녀몽은 녀버 로토바지 녀몽은 껴도 따토바지 아니 개와디야 타스도 플레이 인데든지 독스제 제가 있나 덴덴 즉 개와 타메도 플레이 용인데 별 두비하기 체크는 로토고 와다디 시부진 내침으로 자오름 송도와
The text that we are studying, as you know, mind training like the rays of the sun, and this is the text on, as the title says, on mind training, and it is considered as sacred, important text, and if we can follow the instructions and teachings of this text, there is a possibility that we can transform every moment that we make into something positive, something that can go against the negative mentality or negative emotions or afflictions, in this text, there's nothing that can be left out. Each and every kind of words and sentences is something that is beneficial, that teaches us how to view negative mentalities or afflictions as a destructive and negative, and something that is needed cause of the problems, and therefore we need to be kind of reducing negative mentalities or negative emotions, and eventually, if we can, totally kind of eliminate it. On the other hand, it talks about how to increase the positive thoughts and positive deeds, and that we can develop and increase in such a way that there is no limit. We can go beyond limit, and and the practice that the study that we do in this text is it should be a combination of both what we called the scriptural understanding and the actual practice, and should be a combination of both. There is no kind of two separate thing as scriptural understanding, intellectual understanding on the one hand, and then there's totally different kind of practice on the other hand. These two must be kind of combined together, and so when we do practice, all process of learning should be kind of coming together, beginning with the listening or studying, and then the contemplation and the meditation. So all of these three should be coming together, and with that, it can help us to promote the quality or develop the quality of our mind. And so the text itself is, as we mentioned earlier, very highly kind of a standard text in terms of content-wise, and sacred. But how can we benefit from this text, and how much we put into practice of what it isn't here? It's up to it's a question, and so therefore we need to be kind of carefully in kind of making sure that whatever we learn from this text can something transform into something really kind of practical, that so that we can get maximum benefit, and. So, as advised by His Holiness in his two teachers, because negative mental afflictions or negative emotions, these are the sources of our suffering and problem. And for that, we don't need any other ways of understanding. Simply from our experiences, we know that when you have negative mentalities, it disturbs our mind and therefore unhappy and suffering. And so to cure, for the treatment of the mental kind of suffering, the suffering of the mind, disturbance of the mind, it is obvious that there is no medicine that we can take, and there is no kind of good meal that can help it, or relying upon the alcohol or drugs. This doesn't actually help us to cure. So the best medicine to help and heal and kind of resolve problems within the mind is the instruction that we see in this kind of textbook. And so how can by studying these texts we can learn the technique and method? How can we generate positive thought, a positive mind, and how can we apply antidotes when there are negative mentalities generating within us? And there are many different levels, different types of antidotes that we can apply. Some are direct antidote in a such way that when we apply antidote, it can directly destroy the negative emotions. Then there are some other antidotes which are more kind of temporary, which can suppress the level of negative emotions, but it won't destroy completely. So such as when there's a strong sense of arrogance, we use love as an antidote. But here love is not antidotes of elimination. It just simply kind of reduce the intensity of the arrogance, but it won't reduce or eliminate completely. So one way of applying antidote. And so what is important, the bottom line here is studying this kind of text, whatever we studied and learn, how can we apply these positive thoughts as an antidote to negative mentality, and how can we increase positive activity. So by studying this text, and if we manage to kind of pursue these two objectives, then we are kind of studying it correctly, and it is helping us to serve the purpose.
나와는 만디를 로요 말 인도가 도시네 야게 당해야 되지 이게 아무 수도 와 개지나 많이 수도 와 아무도 오늘 개병한 뭐 주변냐는 이제 된다고 누수 가름난 도와 어떻게 인도가 즉 대인 말한도 오늘 예 그뒤나 랑게 센라 랑게 슈다 한 거야 대마도 무지 톰에 상벌는도 랑게 출바 랑게 마다나 최비 수기 친 지시비스 어떻게 수도 오늘에 어떻게 돼 뭐가지 거데 뺏게 모르겠어 난다 그 산디 빨리 로선데 주고스
So in our practice, the one that which we struggle with or that we fight against is the afflictions or negative emotions, and as Shantideva has said in his text about even when we suffer from the physical illness and pain and suffering, what we do is we seek the treatment from physicians and doctors, and if that is the case, then why not when we suffer from all different kinds of negative emotions? And in fact, in Buddhism, we talk about 84 different thousands, different negative kind of emotions or afflictions or delusions. And not only that, the way negative mentalities arises within us is so easy, it's so spontaneous, and we are so familiar with all these negative mentalities and afflictions, and so they are not only many, but so easily to kind of generate arises within us. So therefore, it is important to kind of be aware and remain in the state of active kind of alertness all the time, and kind of be aware about how we, as a practitioner, when the physical gestures that we do, the verbal speech that we use, the mental thought that arises, we need to be in a constant state of kind of being awareness about our own behavior, physically, verbally, mentally. Because being a practitioners of Mahayana vehicle, one of the bottom line is that with the awareness we shouldn't be at least harming others, abstaining from harming others. So with that kind of practice, we can make 24 hours meaningful, positive, and then with the day, and then we can make a week and a month and a year very meaningful, positive, constructive. So these are the advices or instructions that we hear from great teachers like His Holiness and his two teachers. So what is important here is that always, examining your own state of mind, your own thought, your own attitude, and otherwise, as a great scholar, Ngulju Tongwen Sangpo has mentioned that in the 37 practices of the noble beings, if you don't examine your own thought or your own attitude, even practitioners can do something which is totally against the practices. So therefore, one should be really kind of careful in what's in one's thought or in one's mind.
참되는 로하잖아. 발전이 있게. 니네 따라와 얘기나 나게 그 이제는 니네 루아 셈에 니네 뭐봐 셈에도 딱 되가네. 중도가. 따라와게 들어와주. 그래서 유지사도. 뭐다? 따라와게 세야 돼. 아니 즉 하기. 취주가라. 뒤쳐요와 콤바요와 이게 다 잘와 인상 다 와스 저라지 튕긴 와다도 시제 잘리나 달와 튕긴 좀되는 저와스에 도시 다저시에 경고름 때 nembo 주는 소도와 있지나 와서 보여서 소도와 어다 되게 어다 된지기 당연히 주주타네 밀리지 톱이 뭐니 대화지 마치가 있나가 그래서 생기라 다비 공도 주주지네 생기서 유산지 뭐니 통때까지 만에 마디베 자석까지 같이 요마 매 인자 코 통때까지 막 생기 코 갑자기만 누군데 되어 우야 균이요 말 뒤쳤던 내성나 치 따로게 요마 뒤쳤대 제가 뒤쳤대 요에 갑들라 뒤쳤라 단진쟁이 랑게 셈라 뇨몸의 정원도 만다 가르치는 뇨몸의 정원도 마당스 시고 가르치니 맞죠 되잖아 대화와 동말 말와 동말 민들봐 너야 되기야 동말 만들나 뇨몸을 껴다가 뇨몸 빵딱 잡아 대화 너는 대위 유튜브 알아마도 유메빈 디부시 나예요 말 대화인데 에 대화 맞으면 대화 이나 다예 미율 대당 아니 거기 주장이 따당 만들봐 어떻게 이거라 그 윤에 총맞지 지고 와 윤에 총맞지 말 밑에 미규리 끼기 말해서 숨고 아니 답이 그래 끼기 말했을 때 답이 그래 걔는 또 뒤에 있겠네 답이 그래 끼고 말해 밑에 미규는 마켓이 랑다 춤진다 린디 지긴 tumbaji 깨고 와 지긴 tumbaji 깨고도 대화다야 대화 얘네 배 두네 얘네 대화 두고 와 인디가라 따고 디시고 와 아니 단데 뒤세대라 가서 투투지 대화 두네 맞지가 있나 수송 거다래 데레 얘네 배 뭔가 말이 비자만 그래진다요 말이서 타주데 조심봐 가사 야스 좀 지와래 그때 송도 데레 인디가 갈팅 디타기 대토니 몸비 치경 기루나 추어르기 뒤기치 냥은 전부 나와를 주고 소화다 다 띵원해 말한도 신비 단당 맞주 직랑 수수수라 칸낭도 촌이 상루지다나 이 모야리도 와 즉 개회 처지라 가세 지금 배지지나 실질이 된다라 즉 뭐니 선단이 거래하면 되니 미국 처지를 즉 제용되거나 생각 상가견에 즉 타고를 이걸 삼아 다 먹어지 상가견에 내용도 이 뭐니 즉 카초를 따이나 이 모야리 동안 주자적이 어떻게 이거라 뭐니 가서 개와치마 완성성을 미키야다 유니 뭐한테 왜 코나미도 미키야기 디 타는 땐 자원이니도 단디 짜주 코로나도 상담 어떻게 이거라 즉 뭐니 가서 뭔가야고 제거는 또 미스고 그래 저런 게 뒤지 양한 정보 당월 그 세다 뭐다 즉 단디 마주이나 신도디 갈라 다 냐와지 깨나 세세고 뭐 냐의 동안 몸에 왔다 던지는 거야. 이달기나 대신 꼰대 동안 얘네들 대시 얘네들 즉 출라서 같은 대신 꼬면도 출라서 같은 말하게 동안 라는 미반을 만들어는 동안 너나 얘네들 코벤을 내용이 양 냉한 배원기 코벤한테 대검사야 파지 양 멤버들 얘네들 저거 친구야. 왔다 던지는 누가만 무슨 것도 와. 아니 또 든지 동안 가서 다 시작을 말해. 말한서 티를 연대게 타 야주 파 연대게 두루지리 제대 직면에 비 든지 동안 할 레벨 들리 차이가. 다당 하나도 티 연대게 배세야 되돌아. 가라지 때네 마도 그런서 라이케 비는 사투야 가고도 와. 왔다 든지 동안 돼서 레지 뜨는 그 동안 돼서 원바지 독수제거래. 때 맞으면 단다. 아주 단대 뒤쳤더라 맞으면 이나. 치마 아니 배 가서 듣지나. 동안 치고요. 세수로. 냐와 미제 덴트로 다글리라 세크나 교바 미제 쳔바로에 셈둥 기루아 데미자 신두 니에카 펜피사 디진 따르데 니에큐나 dani shidang denjin chiang nyawa tertina nga ki mongpa chebajin dalan dirsen metuze jimu dage mishede ragi kona jiye jesu batarta ngone dine seru sungdo odati ngone re jamma ne jushele mashele jebalin dilo kwashkenda ane samdanda ane chik ngone sosoji penyadwa.
We'll continue with the reading. If you have a textbook, The Mind Training Like the Rays of the Sun is on page 21. We start with the quote from Shantideva's text. The guide to the Bodhisattva's way of life. The guide to the Bodhisattva's way of life says, so if, when I have found such leisure as this, I do not attune myself to what is wholesome, there could be no greater deception and no greater folly. So in previous teachings, talks, we talk about 8 leisures and 10 endowments. 8 leisures, eight leisures in terms of lacking any obstacles and barriers. So therefore 8 leisures, and 10 endowments from the understanding of possessing or having all facilities. So therefore there are 8 leisures and 10 endowments, and this way of understanding is much more kind of suitable and probably appropriate as His Holiness advised. So Shantideva mentioned here, so if when I found such leisure as this and I do not attune myself to what is wholesome, there could be no greater deception and no greater folly. So after having attained this kind of precious human rebirth with all facilities, without any obstacles in creating doing a practice, when you have found this kind of great opportunity, leisure, and if you don't do practice at this time, if you don't engage in any positive activities, then there is no greater kind of deception to yourself. There is no greater cheating than yourself, than this one. So when we look at our own life, life always sort of continues, in terms of time-wise. Every moment, by nature, it goes forward. There's nothing that can, we can bring it back from the past. Once it is past, it is past. There's no way that we can fix it or bring it back. And so what is important here is that making sure that every coming minutes or hour, how can we make sure that our mind our mind is not influenced by negative mentalities, and not kind of dominated by destructive emotions. And the reason here is that because we don't want suffering or disturbances of the mind or problems, and we want good feeling, happiness, joy, peacefulness of the mind. So if that is the case, practically what we should be doing is we need to be planting the right seed in order to experience the right result. Otherwise, wanting to be happy and peaceful and and then doing something totally in action, something different, and then you expecting good thing from your negative action, is really contradictory in itself. And cause and effect wise, it is totally contradictory. So if you are expecting something happy, positive, nice, you should be planting the seed which yields that kind of result, not otherwise. So it would be totally kind of against the cause and effect, which is the very nature of reality. And logically it will be totally, it doesn't make any sense, expecting something and doing something totally different. So So here, Shantideva really kind of decisively kind of come to come with this statement, continue with the reading. And if having understood this, I still continue to be slothful, when the hour of death arrives, tremendous grief will rear its head. Then if my body blazes for a long time in an unbearable flames of hell, inevitably my mind will be tormented by fires of unendurable remorse. Having found by chance this beneficial state so hard to find, if now, while able to discriminate, I am once again led into the hells, then it is as though I were mindless, like one hypnotized by a spell, not even knowing what causes my confusion or what is dwelling inside me. So, if my body blazes for a long time in the unbearable flames of hell, inevitably my mind will be tormented by the fires of unendurable remorse. So, if you become sort of totally careless or deceiving continuously yourself and not engaging in the positive activities, we might easily take a reborn in the lower realms like hell. And once that happens, then the level of suffering, the intensity of suffering is uncomparable to what we experience right now. So that's why Shantideva mentioned here, blazes for a long time and unbearable flames of hell. And when we look at the Buddhist text, and we find, very detailed sort of explanation of the suffering of, our lower realms, including like hungry ghost, and how from the very beginning, they suffer from extreme hunger and thirst, and when they find something, how it doesn't kind of, how they can't eat it, and once they eat and it's inside the stomach, how it is causing kind of sensation of burning and continuously kind of suffering, and suffering and problems or hardships of the animal. For the animal, one of the common suffering of the animal is lack of intelligence, or or the ignorance. So lacking, kind of not having like a human ability. So let alone animals that we don't see and that's not around us, but even looking at the animals that is with us, like domestic animals, and how they suffer just being an animal. So so as Shantideva mentioned here, when you contemplate on this word, it should be it's kind of precise and very sort of makes a great meaning, easy to understand. So having found by chance this beneficial state so hard to find, if now while able to discriminate, I am once again led into the hells. If we don't use this precious human rebirth with every opportunity that we possess in a meaningful way, then there is a great risk that we fall once again into the lower realms. And when we look at ourselves, sort of within our mind, how we usually think and what our thought process is, quite often it might be sort of kind of depressing, or maybe kind of sad, or maybe worrisome, because when we look at our own way of thinking, mostly what we find is how easily for us to generate negative emotions, and how easily we fall under the power of these negative mentalities. And in that kind of understanding, we really don't need to make any prayers or wishes to reborn in the lower realm. It can happen so easily, so automatically. But when we look at how much positive activities or positive thoughts that we are generating, there isn't not that much. We really need to make a lot of effort, systematic, well organized, and this doesn't happen quite often to us like negative mentalities do. Just
니 총바 전부지 림부지 릴라선에 아니 지 누루 균이 막 해지 로요나 니 아주 죽고봐 계속 케용에는 뒤에는 배 제감지된 제벌로이나 가서 죽고봐 렘바레 뒤에서는 진짜 말한소 니 남제트 라당 감공마 주도 줌에 데벨라티 저기 톱시 sebe lüdendi monam gel lüdendi maso topluyor. Namçedi sendi eni be namçedi mi namçe lüdendi zambulimba ngake kampuden mi lüden 상보 쉬고 싶더래. 진짜로 lüden 상보디 여배 갔더라. 최마마지 센서지에 상기 고방 부야기 시지 리지라 상기야기 lüden된 거죠. 진짜 수지 저감 리루 까발라요. 오다 딘디 인디가라 딘디지 터베 깔라 야불 맞잖아. 오다 직 딘디베 누비는 거 손에 누부케 마다 지바리 돈다 대수무도 오다 테리 제형 파파 파위 간시 거위 추비니 갈파 트라니 기토니 딜리 몸베 소남데 중세자야 미소와 대신 파로 지든 파로도 미제 냥은 컴퍼런주 린진 총바 라퍼 총바 랑김진 이게주 레기 람동 람메퍼 치네 양네 토바미 미토바네 레와니 델터 테리 두마니 대외 바로 류연님 원래 내려 총도 몸에도 제송바닥 삼바 진도 님볼렘바 님볼렌데 게데에스 와다 즉 원래 데리 삼노다니 마란도 센딜라 야오로 좀 디순도 미리 던된 제거래 세야돼 미리 던된 제거래 세야돼 간디지로 공부하지 거래 간디지로 삼당 거래 랑기 시기니 묘몽라 견두다 랑 진진라 견두다 만남 진진 라치 저거 니 세븐이 존데 직니 맞음 버도 가서 뚝뚝지 직 셈나라 직상 장주기 셈지 셈비 뉴지 물자 있다게 왔다 직 나기 저바지기 나다 애니 생기 켜서 데니 조에나 원이 직에 temporum jo gombana ji militon den ngoma chagre wata ti tisku gore ti ton dala nga zo che chingin jega ke ti ton da yu chen da kai mare
a great Indian master Ashwaghosh says sort of using a metaphor here. Ashwaghosh here basically says that if we don't use this, precious human rebirth in a meaningful way, he used an analogy that, a merchant going to a continent full of, treasuries and jewels, and then coming back empty-handed. And even if they come with lots of, treasures and jewels, and then they change for just, one mouthful of meal. And that is the highest form of, he says, stupidity. And so he used that kind of analogy here. And for us, as a human being, as we mentioned in earlier teachings, we attain this rebirth, precious human rebirth, which is even kind of, admired and praised to attain. Make prayers to attain by even like other deities or goddesses or God, and with the human body with great human intelligence, and having ability to kind of attain Buddhahood within a one lifetime, and such a great potential and ability. And if you don't do anything, something kind of meaningful out of this, there is no kind of stupid than this. So that's Ashwaghosh used this analogy, and he says again, the great Ashwaghosh says, whoever is rich in virtue has accumulated it over countless eons, but he who, because of delusion, does not gather such treasure in this life, will in his lives to come be imprisoned in a house of woe, like a merchant returning empty-handed from the island of jewels. Without the path of 10 virtues, there is no way to obtain a human rebirth, without which there is no happiness, and only suffering remains. Not to follow such a path is an act of supreme stupidity. So, that's what His Holiness often advises us, to make our human life meaningful. uh, make sure that we take the essence of this human rebirth. And what he is saying is, basically doing best to abstain or overcome or dominated by negative mentalities or destructive emotions, or staying away from this self-cherishing ego mind and look at those as something false, negative, and then generating sense of cherishing and caring for others, and developing or practice of altruistic mind or awakening mind, and becoming very kind of full of conscientiousness in how we physically do something, verbally say something, or mentally have a thought. So and this is the purpose of why we are studying Buddhist text, and this is what we try to do as a practice. 비셔상견의 상백년의 미우스
녜parkave sul라 윤리기 고니 녜parkave sul 삼바니네
디지털 계시는 포도베 베줄의 신비 차즈를 짱라신 상백년의 미우스 시에송보 따로는 데는 차되는 가가래
데는 몬톨라 되던 차와
알레
당 몬톨라 되던 차와 몬톨라다 미고 방다
디바르네 인지디나로라데 포도베게 신비 차즈를 짱라신 상백년의 미우이센 라디 인지톨 줌디 인지톨 디날 티시시 아주 피 피차베나면도
디도 아타가네
말로션 디르 로 마레 thinking about, I'm reading continuously from the text, thinking about this will give rise to a wish to take the essence of this teaching to heart. As the guide to the Bodhisattva's way of life says, the Shantideva's text, now having paid my body its wages, I shall turn my life to something meaningful. And relying on the board of a human body, free yourself from the great river of pain, as it is hard to find this boat again. This is no time to sleep, you fool. So what Shantideva mentioned here is, as mentioned sort of earlier in the quotation, we attain this precious human rebirth, which is a complete kind of ability or a potential to cross the oceans of suffering. Not only the attaining a human rebirth, but we attain human rebirth in the in terms of Buddhist practice, the best the period or timing or era, as we mentioned in earlier teachings about how this era of Buddha Shakyamuni consists of both teaching of sutra as well as tantric teachings, and this human body, as compared to the living beings of entire 6 realms, this human body is considered as the the best best sort of body or best being or best ability, and we talked earlier in the in this teaching, beginning with how difficult it is to attain this human rebirth, and how difficult, even if you attain a human rebirth, how difficult it is to born in the period where we have a complete kind of access to Buddha's teachings. And so the importance of understanding this overall kind of the situation, and why this human form, that rebirth that we attain, is very precious. And we mentioned earlier, although there will be 1,000 Buddhas arriving in these eons, but only during 3 Buddhas' time there will be teachings of both sutra as well as tantra or Vajrayana. That is during a Buddha, 4th Buddha, Buddha Shakyamuni, and then 7th Buddha, and then finally the final Buddha. So these are all mentioned in the sutra or the scriptures or text of the the auspiciousness, the text. And so it might be of the great positive good karma that we are able to have this reborn, have access to all these teachings, and the teachings that Buddha himself gave, and then later further kind of preserved and maintained in its kind of complete and pristine form by great masters like Nagarjuna and Asanga and all those lineages of great masters. And so when we look at all of these things, the human body that we possess is a really kind of it's like a boat that can cruise and overcome the suffering of ocean. And so that's what Shantideva was saying here, relying on the word of human body, free yourself from the great river of pain, as it is hard to find this boat again. This is no time to sleep, you fool. So Pongda Rinpoche has also advises that when coming to practice, there's no sense of kind of postponing. when there's a practice, it has to be done right now. Whenever you think of, whenever you have that, whenever you come up with the, doing something, just do at that moment. And Pothowa tells the following stories in his teachings by example. So this part of the story that is in the English version is actually not in the Tibetan. So in the Tibetan, there's only 2 verses by Pothowa, which I think relates to this story. So I will just read the story since it is in English if you have this book. Pothowa tells the following stories in his teachings by example. Once a man was plowing his field when he turned up an earthworm. To his amazement, the red worm stood on end and prostrated to nearby image of Buddha. It is equally rare for someone like us, just coming up from the bad state of rebirth, to turn up as a human being and do something positive and spiritually beneficial. On another occasion, a man with no legs was resting on the edge of a sharp drop. He lost his balance and, falling off, landed on the back of his wild ass beneath. The startled beast ran off at a gallop, and the man hung on for dear life, shouting with glee, quote, "If I don't enjoy it now, when else will a cripple like me get the chance to ride on an ass?" Unquote. Likewise, we should see how rare our lives are and take joyful advantage of them. Once a man from Tsang, the central Tibet, came to Lhasa. He had never eaten fish before, so when he then got the chance, he gorged himself on this rare treat. Naturally, it made him sick, but as he was about to vomit, he tied a rope around his neck so as not to waste any of what he had eaten. We should be as unwilling to waste even a moment of our precious human lives. On an occasion when his family were able to enjoy a rare delicacy, sweet buttered barley flour, a small boy, hoping to get an extra helping, held his hands out in front of him after hiding his share behind his back, where a dog ate it, leaving him none. We should take whatever opportunities we have to put the teachings into practice, rather than simply trying to collect more. So continue from the reading Tibetan text. So this part, the entire story is not in Tibetan. From the above, we can understand the importance of seeking a birth with high status. The cause of birth with the high status of human being or God is familiarity with the 3 types of ethics, and life as human being of this world is an excellent basis for this. As it is said, when you have obtained birth as a human of this world, which is so difficult to obtain, you should practice virtue with an utmost effort. Contemplation of the rarity of such a human life is done in 2 parts, according to the difficulty of obtaining the cause and according to the difficulty of obtaining the result. So we will take a break here and continue after the break.